Hey, what's up, guys? It's Showtime. Showtime Shred Fitness over here. Size, growth, get big. Alright, so as you can see, in a hotel room again tonight. Just, it's easy to get focused, right? At home, you get a lot of distractions and so on and so forth, but when you're you know, in a room by the river and everything else, especially when you're an empath, right? And, some people, they're visual. And most of my life used to be a visual person. And somewhere along the lines, I became more kinesthetic, I think, because, I could put more mind-muscle connection into things. And all this was right around the time that I eventually became a bodybuilding champion. And just be able to feel other people's emotions and concerns and all these other things. It can be like a curse, man. It's like I call it a disability because it makes you vulnerable to, to be too nice, right? So you gotta watch that. It's good to be nice, right? Till it's not time to be not so nice, right? Like Patrick Swayze always used to teach, right? He taught that. So that's the realm of it. And other people, of course, are auditory. You really gotta watch what you say to people in a good way or a bad way, because you can really make big points, big bonus points. You're trying to get your point across about something, or tell them how you really feel, or you want to make a sale or whatever. People who are auditory, they're going to listen to everything you have to say, and they're not really going to listen so much to the tonality of it. Well, they might, right? Because that's all auditory too, right? It's how you hear things. So tonality can work on auditory people, but it's one of those things where we're all three. Most people, right? Most people, we can see, right? A lot of people can see, hear, and feel, right? So if you think, oh, that's kind of fucked up, what about people who maybe they can hear and they can feel but they can't see? Or what about people that can see but they can't hear, right? And they can still feel. What tends to happen with people who, from what I've heard, right, and from what I've talked to with people who have had experience with in these areas, right, they say that the other senses will heighten, right? So, okay, I can't see with my eyes, but I can see with my ears, and I can see with my feelings, emotions, with my sensors, even, like, feeling things around them and stuff. They can halfway see things through touch, taste and smell, right? There's other ways to get around, maybe not being able to see well or see at all, right? And some people who can't hear, well, they'll rely more on their visual senses. They'll read lips and freaking, be more in tune with the things around them. So there's different sensory things that we have as Homo sapien human beings that we can tap into when we most need them, right? And if we're not used to relying, if we're used to relying on all three, and all of a sudden we don't have one, it can fuck us up really bad, especially if it's in a life-threatening situation, right? All of a sudden we can't see anything, and we might need to get out of a dangerous situation, right? Well, that can be stressful, and it can be, life-threatening. You don't get out in time, obviously, what's going to happen, right? You can die. So, obviously, that type of thing, where if you're used to relying on hearing, and you're trying to see things, and it might not be that clear a vision anyways, and you gotta worry now people sneaking up on you, shooting you, whatever, right? So those types of situations can be very scary if you're not used to having those, and versus if you're already used to not having that third thing right out of the three. So say you can't see, like, so one guy, he's this badass, right? He did lost sight like way late in life, but he learned to adapt. So some burglar broke into his home, right? And this guy's a freaking Vietnam vet, and he knows all these tools on self-defense and blah blah blah. And he he ended up beating the guy up, and or he might have been a boxing champion. I can't remember the guy's story. He was either prior military or boxing champion. Might have been both. Okay, but somebody broke into his house and they paid the price. He got the shit beat out of him. Dude couldn't even see, right? But he knew his house. He could see. It was bad for the burglar, right? So he got all beaten up, and of course he got arrested and so on and so forth. But those types of things can happen if you've got other skills to rely on. So obviously, if you have all three, you want to be in tune with them all and kind of realize, where your strengths are. So if you're strong visually, maybe work on your auditory and kinesthetic skills a little bit, right? Especially if you're dealing with a lot of people, whether it be one person that you have a relationship with like all the time, or somebody that you see on a regular basis that is important to you in some way, shape, or form. That's more auditory, more kinesthetic. Then you want to work on that inside of you so that you can have better rapport or relationship with that person. Sound fair enough? And the same thing with the other senses. If you're more auditory, then you want to work a little bit on your visual and kinesthetic. If you're more kinesthetic, a little bit more on your visual auditory. And that's, in a nutshell, or three senses that we rely on in life to either aid us or and heighten us and get us better success in life, or they can be our downfall, right? People that are too visual, and they let that get into trouble, right? Because if you get too involved in a relationship, for example, and you go to a nudie bar, right? Depends on the relationship, but a lot of people think, there's nothing wrong with going to the nudie bar. Okay, fair enough. And you just can't take it to that next level, right? So that visual that you get, you don't want to follow up on any urges that might come with that, right? Because once the first sensor kicks in, then the other ones follow. So if you get visually aroused, then you become kinesthetically aroused, and even the sounds of the music and the voice of the gal or whatever, right? So it all can be like a spinning disaster, right? If you think that things aren't going to happen and you weren't planning on it, and you get yourself into a situation and bada bing, bada boom, right? And then you're like, oh fuck, right? Now you did something you regret. Do you freaking hide it, or you fall on the sword and come clean, or what do you do, right? And some people don't get fucked, right? It's smart versus stupid. It's you get caught or you don't get caught, and there's nothing wrong with it in their mind, right? And that's on you with your standards, your ethics, your morals, your relationships, etc., right? So, and other things too, like if you start out auditorily, so even if you're in a relationship where you're like relying on auditory, right? So the visual and the kinesthetic will also start to kick in. It just starts with that auditory, right? Where it starts with the feeling, and then they enjoy what they see and hear too, right? So those are all your friends. We all utilize them. We all tap into them. We just, like I said, most of us aren't blessed enough to kind of have all three at the same time. Be in the zone on those where they're all equally dominant. Usually for most of us, one kicks in quicker than everything else, and then the other two, they follow there shortly thereafter, maybe longer period of time after, maybe right away, maybe within a few seconds or a few minutes, right? So it all depends on the person and the situation and blah, 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 right? All right, it's been Showtime. Showtime Shredded Fitness over here. Size, growth, get big. All right.